Hello. So this is one of the most nicest feeling and most fun build I've made in a while. It's just so satisfying zooming around with righteous fire and explosions, and there's just so many great things about the build. It's fast, it has big AoE with a lot of explosions and prolip. It's a really simple playstyle and scales really well into juice content. And it's also Giga Tanky, like the tankiest character I've made by far. It's pretty much immortal to everything outside of big uber attacks or so if I ever want to go for like a max character, this would be the one for sure. And the defensive core of the build is also really flexible. I can for sure see someone make like a really juicy ignite or hit based spellcaster version with pretty much the same setup. But for me, I felt like going a fire dot build made the most sense. I guess some downside is that it's not the highest single target. It's around 5 million, which it's okay for a dot build, but stuff like Ubers take a while and it's kinda expensive. I think I've spent around 100 divines on the build. So first thing I want to talk about is the defensive layers of the build. The build has 100% LE damage taken as fire, 79% fizz damage taken as fire, 90 fire res, over 1000 life regen, infinite recovery from Defiance of Destiny, complete ailment and corrupting blood immunity, and it also has crit immunity and 75% chaos resist. The strongest defensive combo the build has is definitely the Tempered by War, which you get from Rakia the Little Bright Jewel, plus a perfectly rolled Cold and Lightning Dawnbreaker and a Purity Fire Sublime Vision. What this combo does, it makes all elemental damage, including damage over time, convert to fire damage, which means you can completely specialize in fire damage mitigation. So stuff like Ruby Flask or Arctic Armor is super strong. And also right now with the tattoos, you can get 90 max res really easily. This beautiful little pocket thanks to tattoos and a warrior style jewel gives you 9% max fire resist, and the purity fire already gives you 6%, so you're hitting the res cap just like that with very little investment. Since the build has massive fire damage mitigation, it also makes sense to convert as much physical into fire as well. For example, Dawnbreaker can give you up to 20% fizz taken as fire, Watcher's Eye can give you another 10%, a Cloak of Flames with 40%, and very conveniently, the Lethal Bright Timeless Shield can also roll 5% fizz taken as fire on nearby notables. So in total my build ends up having 79% fizz taken as fire. And you could push this even higher if you want with like a defensive helmet or even a better jewel, but honestly it starts being a little bit overkill at that point, because I can already tank a Uber Shaper Slam, which is like one of the hardest physical damage hits in the game. Oh, and conversion has one little bonus as well against Uber bosses, which is that most Uber bosses have built-in penetration into the spells. So let's say if you convert the cold Shaper Ball into fire, you also negate the cold penetration part of the spell, making it sometimes like 2 or 3 times more effective a mitigation. But sadly, the build isn't Giga Tanky against everything. Stuff like Uber Atziri Flame Blast or the Uber Maven Fireballs will just delete the characters since they have built-in fire penetration on them. Another big boy defensive layer we have is Defiance of Destiny. This amulet is so incredibly broken if you have a really high effective health pool. It pretty much makes you completely immortal against everything that doesn't one-shot you. And since there's very little things that can one-shot the build, it makes it incredibly safe against all kind of content. Also, as a bonus, the amulet has really amazing synergy with Wall Righteous Fire. Wall RF is usually pretty dangerous to pop but since we recover missing health before we get hit, it means there's pretty much no risk just spamming it on cooldown. Popping it while taking massive damage over time is pretty risky though. Luckily the build is immune to all damage over time ailments. The way it's doing that is through Storm Shroud and a couple of Abyssal Jewels. This jewel inside a perfectly rolled Darkness and Thrones gives us ailment immunity, thanks to Storm Shroud, and these 2 jewels, one inside the belt and another in the passive tree, gives us bleed and poison immunity. Since the build doesn't need any cold or lightning resist, it makes it really easy to get high chaos resists. 2 amethyst rings like these is enough to hit the cap, and since we're using a lot of tattoos, you will also need to get your missing attributes from the rings. As for the big amount of regen the build has is mostly thanks to Tukohama Makanga and the Bloodlines tattoos. Both of these also get doubled thanks to the Warrior Style Jewel. Keep in mind you have to have 1 tattoo for each tribe to get the most effect from the Bloodlines tattoo. Tattoos are also carrying the crit immunity for the build with 10 of these Ronko Kurai turtle tattoos. Since the build has really heavy investment into defenses and the passive trees near the marauder side, it means it's actually pretty hard to scale damage. There's very little limited things and they have to carry a lot of weight. For example, this +2 gem level scepter with really good mods, and a really juiced up helmet for the fire trap, and a gem level corrupt on your Cloak of Flames. And obviously a lot of awakened gems and level 4 empowers in both setups. For the passive tree, there's a lot of things going on because of the tattoos, so I would highly recommend checking out the POB to see exactly what the specific tattoos I'm getting. But some important things is that we're grabbing a cluster jewel setup for damage and AoE scaling, but also get ignite proliferation and automatic fire exposure. Then we're going down and slotting a Rakiata Lethal Bride in here to grab Tempered by War. A really easy way to find a good timeless jewel for this build is through POB by clicking this Find Timeless Jewel button and selecting a Lethal Bride Rakiata jewel in this Agnostic Jewel socket. And make sure to click the Filter Nodes button so it only looks for mods on already allocated nodes. And then you just search for a Fizz damage taken as fire node. And after that you can copy the trade URL and paste it into your browser to find the correct numbers on sale. And after that we're going all the way down to Unwavering Stance, converting as much strength nodes into explosions as possible, making sure to also add in tattoos from 10 different tribes. And for the gem setups, this is what I've came up with. Since we're using Life Tap on Righteous Fire, it's important to also proc it on stuff like Shield Charge to make sure we always have the damage bonus. For the flasks, we're running a Oriat Scent for a bunch more explosions, and 4 utility flasks that all have the mod gain charges when hit, and the enchant used when charges reach full. This makes the flasks completely automated and you pretty much don't have to touch them. As for some good secondary mods to get on the flask, it's stuff like regen, attack speed, movement speed, and reduced curse effect. And quickly about leveling, I would recommend starting with Rolling, Magma, and Flame Wall, and rush straight over to this fire damage cluster. And at around level 20 you can grab this Fire Mastery, and if you have some decent amount of fire resists, you can already sustain Righteous Fire throughout the story. And for the Ascendancy points, I would rush Heart of Destructions first for that juicy AoE, and Shaper Flames third, since that lines up with getting explosions up and running. And that's pretty much it. I hope you liked the build, and bye!